Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. The new production of Henry Krieger and Bill Russell's musical Sideshow, which is being directed by Academy Award winner Bill Condon, opened its doors here at the St. James Theatre during its technical rehearsal to bring us a sneak peek and to meet the creative team. Thank you for opening your doors. I told Bill, thank you. This was so nice to enter the world of Sideshow today. What's it been like for you working on the show all over again?
Well, it's been a wonderful new opportunity. The first iteration of the show was breathlessly happy. We had a great time. Our audiences and critics really loved us. And it was a little early for our subject of Two Girls Conjoined. So now, with the advent of all kinds of widening of the culture, per se, I would say, gay marriage being widely and wildly accepted in our new world. Not by everyone, but by many. By the American Horror Show doing the motif of Freaks, of us having the opportunity of an incredible Hollywood film director, Bill Condon, with whom I had the great pleasure of working on Dreamgirls, the movie. And we had a wonderful time together and wanted to continue. So here we are. And to answer the question, Rich, it's just a wonderful chance to do it again and get it really full and beautiful for a new public. It's a generational change. And so it's great.
Talk about collaborating with Bill Russell again and with Bill Condon, what this whole experience has been like for you.
Well, Bill Russell and I are like old shoes together. We love working together. And Bill Condon and I, as I said, after working on the film together, it was wonderful. So they came together with my being close to each of them professionally and as friends. And then we got the good luck of Anthony Van Last, our incredible choreographer. It's just been a really well-tuned, humming kind of human artistic machine.
And being here at the St. James with this beautiful cast, I mean, talk about your leading ladies.
They are so amazing, and they've been playing these roles now for a year because we started a year ago in La Jolla, and they just get better and better. They were always fantastic, but they're such amazing singers. They move so well together. They look so much alike, and they're such unique and special actresses. Really thrilling.
Now, with the collaboration with Bill Condon, you've changed some of the show, right? Talk about that.
We've changed a lot of the show. There's 10 songs that weren't in the original. Bill thinks that the book is 50 to 60% different. We've cut way back on how much is sung. There's not nearly as much recit as there was in the original production. And I think we've really strengthened the story and the characters, especially the male lead characters. I think we've really focused on them, and it just feels like it plays really well to me.
You know, the interesting thing is, we all fell madly in love with the original production.
So did I.
Yeah, well, of course. But it was at such an interesting time where people didn't understand all of this, so it didn't have the success it should have had. So what has it been like for you now, revisiting, and recreating something that you're able to go back to and sort of look at it through fresh eyes all over again?
That is so exciting to me. I guess some writers might be intimidated by that, but Henry and I love writing songs, so we never feel like, well, if we're going to cut a song, we can always write another song. And just the opportunity to work with Bill on this has been a constant joy.
So we're standing here in this beautiful St. James Theatre with your gorgeous set behind you. You're getting ready to open on November 17th. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm on top of the world. I've always wanted to work at a Jamson theater because I have such respect for Jordan Roth. And I love this theater. It's especially beautiful. It's got such a history. I mean, Oklahoma and The King and I and the producers. Really thrilled.
What attracted you to this project? Did you know the original?
I knew the score, and I always loved the score. I never saw the original project. And then Bill Condon invited me to become part of the team. And then I started working on the book, and it's for me, it's just been a fascinating journey. Fascinating journey.
So talk about making this show dance. Was it a challenge for you? Is it character-driven? What went through your mind early on? Then when you started to put, the cast into it, how it changed?
I mean, the first challenge for me when I was invited to do the show was, how do you make the conjoined twins move? What do you do? How do you go about it? Because in real life, they were a song and dance act, and they were the highest paid artists on vaudeville, and they really danced. So how did they do it? So I put my associate into a pair of boxer shorts. I went into a pair of boxer shorts. She sewed them together, and then we started working in the room. And I have to say, I was just terrible. I was a klutz. And so I got another woman in, and so I put Janet Rothermel and Kim Craven, who are both two fabulous Broadway artists. I put them into the boxer shorts, tied them together, and then we spent a week trying to figure out how they would move. And it was really exciting. And it was exciting because, one, you had to do the feet, but then one had to find a way of moving the arms, because in a way, you could do a certain amount with the feet, but only a certain amount. But it's how the arms moved, how the heads moved, how the shoulders moved. So in a way, of course, we've contemporized, because there are sort of archival films of them moving. So of course, we've contemporized the way they move. And it's not just the movement, because they were two different personalities. And my work is always very sort of character-based. Because I always think choreography should tell a story within a show. It shouldn't just be steps for steps' sake. So therefore, I was interested. One's very introvert, one's very extrovert. So you watch their journey choreographically in the first act until they end up in vaudeville, and then they both become stars. So it was the challenge was that.
And I would think, designing for the stage, you want it to be seen into the balcony. So do you exaggerate, or how do you work on what you work on?
Yeah, we did exaggerate a little bit.
We exaggerated. We definitely pushed them. I mean, I think the characters are kind of exaggerated kind of characters anyway before you even begin. But we, certainly the first time we did it, I was in there, putting skin paws in and single hairs and
single hairs, eyebrows
and eyelashes and all of that is like.
And we used to keep saying, just like 20 foot back, and then have a look.
Yeah, that's what we keep doing now. We keep running away from the work and trying to get as far away from it as possible to see what it looks like,
Who was the first freak you designed, and who was the last?
Oh, that was the Geek. The Geek was the very first one, the Elegant Geek. And we're in love with him. I mean, we just love the whole look of him and everything. We didn't really know, there was no precedent for it, because the real sideshow geeks tended to be like alcoholics. I mean, there is no precedent for this. It's not from the Todd Browning film or anything. So we kind of drew from the inspiration for the whole show. And Paul Tazewell did a drawing of the costume very early on, which we loved, and we went, all right, we're going to do that, and we're going to try and physicalize it, Well,
let's talk about the challenge of designing for the girls, of joining them together, what it was like designing these beautiful outfits for them.
Well, I mean, that's huge. I mean, first off, it's trying to develop the function of two people being joined together, two fully formed people being joined together. One, it's two ladies that have never experienced that, and so they had to work through what is it like to be connected to another human being, and make that feel like they've been that way since since birth. Then there is the added element of it being a musical, and scene by scene by scene, they're changing constantly, so we're looking at, 12 to 15 looks where they need to change it in time, some of them 20-second changes, some before our eyes, and figuring out how do they need to come apart or stay together while they're making the change, and we do both. If you saw the backstage dance of them getting in and out of clothing, all the way down to their skin parts, it's like it's pretty remarkable.
So how do you work on the show? Do you work with the set designer and the costume designer together? Did you work on Sideshow like as a combo? How did you all put this all together?
It is definitely a collaboration. It probably started with Bill working with David Rockwell as a scenic designer, and then he brought us in very early to say, how can we contribute? How can light help tell that same story that David's doing? And then I think next came costumes with Paul Tazewell, and it absolutely was a collaboration, a good one.
Yeah, that's how we make it happen. That's how we work together, and we get into the real intricacies of it once we get like a conceptual position, and then we just work out all the details.
My final question is, what have you enjoyed the most about the process so far with working on Sideshow?
Well, I love the music, and I love musicalizing the story, and I think it's a score that we haven't heard very much of, and it hasn't been fleshed out in the same kind of way. That's thrilling, and working with Bill and his instincts, his visual instincts are so good, and it's a vocabulary I think we have.
Part of this show, so much of it is about the visual, you know, and to be able to show people what we're up to on stage, and you know, not just set lighting, and especially these masks that have been made to create these creatures, you know. I think. I don't know, it was fun to expose the whole thing at once.
You love this show. Welcome to the world of the theater and to Broadway. Tell me what this whole experience has been like for you so far and what you love about this show.
Well, the show I fell in love with when I first saw it in 1997. And, you know, the original production, I saw a wonderful production in Burbank. I got to know Henry because of Dreamgirls. And then we started engaging on the idea, God, would you want to revisit this? Because on Dreamgirls, on the movie, we'd actually done a lot of original work. Henry wrote 4 new songs, and that was such a joyous experience. I was like, do you want to engage in kind of, I had an idea for a kind of different approach to it. Do you want to sort of pull it apart and put it back together again? And both he and Bill Russell were very intrigued by that, you know. So we started this long process. For me, obviously, you know, I grew up in New York. I started seeing plays when I was 12. I was second acting plays, you know, in high school with my friends. You know, it was so it's a surreal dream come true, you know. That Folly song about the road you didn't take, you know. I remember being in, you know, I knew I wanted to do one of the two things, you know, and decided for whatever reason that it was going to be movies. So the dream deferred to actually get a chance to do it, and actually to be in some world where you're the newcomer is such a relief at this age, you know.
So what has the whole experience been like for you so far, working on Broadway and working in the theater?
Yeah, it's just been amazing. First of all, the crews, all that stuff, it's just the level of like know-how and professionalism is just so extraordinary. Things happen so quickly, you know. And also just this amazing, you know, it was interesting, like years ago, with a friend of mine, Larry Mark, we produced the Oscar show, right? And the mantra was like, how do we make it more like the Tonys, you know? And then you start to realize when you start to work here, well, part of that is just the community, you know what I mean? That there is this sense of everybody kind of rooting for you, you know? And especially I think this show felt like it got a kind of, it didn't get its due originally, you know? And there are people who love it so much, and I think that's been an interesting kind of burden and challenge to make sure that as we expand it in a different direction, we're not losing the essence of what people really, really love about the show.